I've got something special for you in this video. You're going to learn 11 phrasal verbs, but you're going to learn them using the most effective technique I know and created. It's called the LEMUR Method. So what I'm going to show you today is actually one full day from my phrasal verbs course. So you're going to experience one day with me exactly as it works inside that course, and that way you can see exactly how the LEMUR method works in practice. And by the end of this video, you won't just have heard me talk about phrasal verbs, you will have actively learned them so they become easier to remember and easier to use in the future. Are you ready? Okay, so we're going to look at day 9 of my 10-day phrasal verbs challenge. And inside this challenge, we use my very own LEMUR method. So this is a method that I created to help you learn, internalize, and remember phrasal verbs long term. So before we watch the video from the course, I want to quickly explain how this LEMUR method works. So LEMUR, L-E-M-U-R, it stands for learning by exposure, meaning, understanding, and repetition. And here is how it works. So first, you learn through exposure. You listen to a story, okay? No pressure. You just listen to it, okay? You are exposed to phrasal verbs in a natural way. Then we focus on meaning. So in the course, I explain the phrasal verbs from the first part of the story so that you clearly understand them. And this actually includes 2 of my core philosophies in teaching. One is that you shouldn't learn too much at the same time. That's why I break everything up. That's why we divide the lesson into 2 parts. 5 phrasal verbs in the first part, 5 phrasal verbs in the second part. Easy. Secondly is donkey bridges. I explained the reason behind donkey bridges inside the course. But basically, it's my personal tips or personal helpful ways so that you can visualize and remember vocabulary. Donkey bridge doesn't really exist in English, but it's a wonderful German expression that I like because I always give my students donkey bridges. I always give them these ways to remember things. For example, when you remember the name of this nut, think of the sound that you make when you sneeze. Achoo! Cashew. Okay, it's a cashew. Think of the way you sneeze and you'll remember that nut. You could even visualize being allergic to this type of nut, and when you eat it, you go, achoo! A cashew comes out of your mouth. I personally always use these little techniques when I'm learning vocabulary in a different language, and I always use them when I'm teaching English. Okay, so once you understand the meaning, we move on to the U in the LEMUR method, understanding. So this means that you listen to the story again, but this time it's different. This time you recognize the verbs, you understand them, and then they speak to your heart because you learn them and you're hearing them in context. And that's the best way to learn. When you learn them and you hear them with your heart, that's the best way to really internalize them. And finally, we reach the R in LEMUR, which is repetition. Now, inside the course, you get exercises so that you can actually use the phrasal verbs in context, and you can actually practice output, not just input, but output, using the phrasal verbs. And because it's a 10-day challenge, you review them again within 24 hours. Okay, if you revise something within 24 hours, it's scientifically proven that you have a much, much better chance of remembering it than if you wait, for example, 2 days or a week before you revise what you have learned. So in the course, you practice the day that you watch the video and then again on the next day. Now, I obviously can't include that aspect in this video, but if you want to see the exercises and practice them, you can download that PDF. I'll include them, the same exercises from the course, in that PDF. And also in the course, you normally get a PDF transcript of the story. I'll include that in the PDF too. Okay, so you get the full experience of one day inside the course. At the end of the course, we also get a review of all the phrasal verbs from the challenge so that you don't forget anything. And yeah, this course is basically a great example of my teaching philosophy. The problem is most people try to learn phrasal verbs by reading a list and learning the meaning. That's basically just the method, just the M of LEMUR. That's why it doesn't work. That's why you just forget them. But if you follow the full process, the learning by exposure, meaning, understanding, and repetition, believe me, you'll find that you really internalize the phrasal verbs and remember them so that you can use them long term in the future. Okay, I'll put a link in the description where you can download the exercises and transcript that go with this story. I'll also include a link to the full 10-day challenge if you want to take it and do it from start to finish. And let me know in the comments what you think of the LEMUR method. Okay, here we go. This is a sample day inside my 101 phrasal verbs challenge. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go. Welcome to the penultimate day of this phrasal verbs challenge. We're going to hear another diary extract from Emma about a climbing trip she went on. So let's listen to the first part and learn the first few phrasal verbs.
A day of climbing and chilling. A few months ago, Jack and I decided to take up outdoor climbing, and now we're totally hooked on it. So, this weekend, we planned a day trip to a national park with the climbing group. A few of Jack's friends who had done some climbing before also tagged along. We headed out early to pick up all the equipment and meet the other people who would be climbing with us. The experienced climbers are always super helpful, showing us different techniques and making sure that we always have the ropes tied safely. It felt great to soak up the beautiful views and fresh air of the national park on the way to the climbing location.
Okay, only 4 phrasal verbs in part 1 of today's story, but the first one has 3 very different meanings. So, let's start. The first one is take up. Like, imagine you start playing tennis for the first time ever, which if you do, you would probably take the racket and put it up in the air before hitting the ball. Take up. Start a new hobby or interest. Okay? She took up painting when she was a teenager and still does it 20 years later. It can also mean to fill an amount of space or time. Like the new sofa takes up a lot of space in the living room. And the third definition of take up means to accept or to agree something, usually an offer or request. This is separable when we use it in this sense. For example, he was excited to take up the job offer in New York. Or he was excited to take the job offer up in New York. Okay, just one definition for the next phrasal verb, which is tag along, which is inseparable. Now, a tag is the bit of paper that is sometimes attached to a t-shirt. If you buy a t-shirt in a shop, it tells you what size it is and how much it costs. And when you buy the t-shirt, you take it with you, but the tag comes too. You don't want the tag, but it's with the clothes. Well, tag along means to go somewhere with a person or group, usually when they haven't asked you. So it's a bit like they're the clothes, okay? They are the people who made this plan, who were invited, and you're like the tag, okay? You just join them. It's not a negative thing, but you weren't in the original plan. You went to the shop to get a t-shirt, not a t-shirt and a tag, okay? For example, I don't have any plans tomorrow. Can I tag along to the concert with you? His sister doesn't know a lot of people, so she often tags along with him and his friends. Okay, the next phrasal verb is head out. Imagine your head going out of the front door. Head out. It means to leave somewhere. Normally, to leave your house. We are heading out to the cinema soon. Do you want to come? What time do you plan to head out tomorrow night? And the last phrasal verb from part 1 today is soak up. Soak means to immerse in liquid and to absorb the liquid. So the thing is saturated with liquid, like a sponge, okay? And we can use this verb in a more abstract sense. To absorb or to really, really enjoy the effects or the experience of something. Okay, you don't just see it with your eyes or hear it with your ears. You really soak up the experience. She soaked up the atmosphere at the jazz festival. He plans to soak up as much sun as possible during his summer holiday. And we can also use it in a more physical sense, like to absorb or to take inside, like the sponge that I mentioned earlier. The sponge quickly soaked the milk up. Paper towels soak up water very efficiently. Okay, are you ready for the second part of the story? We've got 7 new phrasal verbs in this part, so listen carefully and let's go.
After about 3 hours of climbing, we decided to chill out and have lunch in a shaded area we found nearby. One of Jack's friends, Matt, decided to show off his musical skills by pulling out a harmonica he'd brought along. I have to admit, he was actually pretty good. As everyone was enjoying the music, Jack let on that another of his friends, Sarah, was a really good singer. So, after a little encouragement, she joined Matt and they sounded great together. It was like a mini concert. We climbed for a couple more hours, then hung around the park for the rest of the afternoon, just relaxing and enjoying the scenery. It was a nice way to wind down after the adrenaline rush of the climbing. About an hour before sunset, we collected all the equipment and walked back to the cars. On the drive home, we tuned in to my favourite radio station and sang along to our favourite songs the whole way home.
Right then, 7 phrasal verbs in this second part of the story. And the first one is a very common and informal one. And it's chill out. It's inseparable, and it means to just relax. Do nothing. Take it easy. I think you should chill out this weekend. You've been working so much recently. And we also use it to calm down and become less stressed or less anxious. Chill out, man. If somebody is very stressed, you might say to them, all right, chill out. That meeting was so stressful, I'm going outside to chill out for 15 minutes. All right, here's another one that is very common. Show off. Again, this is inseparable, and it means to behave in a way that is intended to attract attention or to attract admiration so that people say, wow, you're good, or wow, that's great. Okay, you want that attention, so you show off. For example, Chris wants to show off his new bike to his friends. Now, we could say Chris wants to show his new bike to his friends, but if we say show off, it expresses the idea of, hey, look at me, look how good I am, look how good this is. Okay, you show off to attract attention and to attract admiration from other people. Another example is, she showed off her dancing skills at the party. Okay, the next one is let on. Okay, you know a secret, it's inside you, and you don't keep it, but you let it on. Okay, it means to tell other people about something that you know, especially when it's a secret. I think you know more than you're letting on. He didn't let on to his best friend about the surprise party for him. The next phrasal verb is to hang around. Now, we looked at the phrasal verb hang on earlier in this challenge. One definition was wait, like hang on a second, wait a second. Well, hang around can also mean wait, but for a much longer period of time. Like when your friend is 20 minutes late for coffee with you and you're just hanging around, doing nothing, waiting for him. Okay, so hang around can mean wait or spend time somewhere, just waiting for someone for no particular reason, doing nothing special. The police officer hung around the crime scene for a while to see if anyone came back. And look at this example. The last time I saw those kids, they were just hanging around the park. Okay, hanging around the park. They were just spending time doing something, doing nothing really, for no particular reason, as teenagers often do. They just hang around. Okay, here's the next phrasal verb, wind down. So, you know the old watches that you wind up, or some children's toys that you wind up to make it work, and then little by little it winds down and it starts going very, very quickly, and at the end it goes okay, so it gradually gets slower and with less energy. Well, wind down means to relax after doing something difficult or a period of excitement or stress. Okay, so that's when it's all the way at the top, lots of excitement, lots of stress, and wind down is the action of going eventually more calm. Okay, we like to wind down after a hard week's work with some nice music and a glass of wine. That's a nice way to wind down. And we can also use it to mean to end gradually in stages. Like, I don't think this event will go on for much longer. It's starting to wind down now. Okay, it's starting gradually to finish, stage by stage. Here's the 10th phrasal verb today, tune in. Now, a tune is a melody, it's a song. Where do you want the music? In your ear. So tune in means to start listening or start watching a broadcast on TV or radio. For example, make sure you tune in at 8 p.m. for the live news report. The second definition of this is to find the correct frequency on a radio. I guess this is less common now with digital radios, but you know, when you had to tune in the past, it means to find that frequency. I can't seem to tune in to listen to the live football on this radio. Okay, one extra one today for you. There's 101 phrasal verbs in this challenge. So one day we had to have 11, And today is that day. So your extra phrasal verb today is to sing along. Now, I talked about another phrasal verb with along earlier in this challenge, and I told you to imagine you're walking along the river. You're going in the same direction as the water. It's easy. You're going with it. Okay? Well, if you sing along, you're listening to the song, that's the river, and you're singing at the same time. It's easy. You're just going along with it. Okay? So, definition: to sing a piece of music while someone else is singing or playing it, or it's on the radio, whatever. Okay, so everyone sings along when this song comes on the radio. At the concert, the crowd sang along with every word. And that is it. Just one more day to go. So now let's listen again to the full story, so you can listen out for these phrasal verbs of today, and then you can do the tests on the next pages. All right, so tomorrow is the last day of the challenge, and in the story we're going to hear about a heated discussion in an environmental club meeting. So, will Emma and the other students be able to reach an agreement? Let's find out tomorrow. I'll see you then.
A day of climbing and chilling. A few months ago, Jack and I decided to take up outdoor climbing, and now we're totally hooked on it. So, this weekend, we planned a day trip to a national park with the climbing group. A few of Jack's friends who had done some climbing before also tagged along. We headed out early to pick up all the equipment and meet the other people who would be climbing with us. The experienced climbers are always super helpful, showing us different techniques and making sure that we always have the ropes tied safely. It felt great to soak up the beautiful views and fresh air of the national park on the way to the climbing location. After about 3 hours of climbing, we decided to chill out and have lunch in a shaded area we found nearby. One of Jack's friends, Matt, decided to show off his musical skills by pulling out a harmonica he'd brought along. I have to admit, he was actually pretty good. As everyone was enjoying the music, Jack let on that another of his friends, Sarah, was a really good singer. So, after a little encouragement, she joined Matt and they sounded great together. It was like a mini concert. We climbed for a couple more hours, then hung around the park for the rest of the afternoon, just relaxing and enjoying the scenery. It was a nice way to wind down after the adrenaline rush of the climbing. About an hour before sunset, we collected all the equipment and walked back to the cars. On the drive home, we tuned in to my favourite radio station and sang along to our favourite songs the whole way home.
All right, well done. You have now experienced the LEMUR method together, but you're still missing one part of the LEMUR method, the R, repetition. At the moment, you've done the LEMUR method. So don't forget the R, the LEMUR, the R, to actually complete this method. And to do that, you're going to need the PDF with the exercises to do now and the exercises to do tomorrow, so that you can use and repeat using these phrasal verbs. And that's what we do inside the full course. One exercise on the same day that you watch the lesson, and then again on the following day, so that you get that crucial repetition within a 24-hour period. And that's incredibly powerful for your memory retention. Okay, there you go. I've also included the full transcript of the story, so you can listen again and follow along with the transcript. And that is another phrasal verb, follow along. It follows the same logic as sing along or walk along, which we heard about in the lesson. If you walk along a river, you walk in the same direction as the water. If you sing along to the song, you're listening to the song and you're singing at the same time. If you follow along, then you're reading something while listening to it at the same time. So you can listen to the story and follow along with the transcript. So the link's in the description. The link to the full 10-day challenge is also there if you want to take the full 10-day challenge. So thanks for watching and bye for now.